this is the Vision Church. Let's see, can you see my screen, my board? Yeah, right over there. This is Stephanie Ponteau, the Vision Church Level 2 class. There is my contact information. Let me scroll back around here so you can see directly on the board. All right, and we are going to continue on. This is part 3 of the Monday, April 27th class. And we are continuing on in Unit 8. We're on page 102. So in this unit, on this page rather, we're going to read and understand a recommendation email. We're going to scan text for names and dates, and we're going to learn new vocabulary for job duties. Okay? All right, so as we get started here, go ahead and open your book for me to page 96. We're going back to page 96 for a moment, okay? And I also have page 96 up on your screen, and I'm using the handy dandy tools that my children have been trying to teach me. Okay, so we've got page 96 there. All right, so you remember Marco, and I'm going to attempt to put a dot. Put a dot on Marco. There you go. A purple dot is on Marco. So you remember him, right? That's our orderly Marco, right? All right. And so what's Marco's job? That's right. I just said it. He is an orderly. And what does an orderly do? He's an orderly at the hospital. And orderlies, do they take care of patients? Not really. They don't really do patient care. But the things that they do does help the patients, like bringing supplies that the patient might need, or, bringing sheets or Band-Aids or things that even the nurse might need to use with the patient. So the orderlies are very important at the hospital. They also pick up x-rays. They deliver flowers to the patient. If a patient is one of those people who is in the hospital a long time, they might actually get some mail at the hospital. They make beds. They prepare rooms, bring in the supplies that the doctors told them needs to be in the room for that patient. And, just general things like that to keep things going. So that's Marco the orderly. All right, so, and what does Marco want to do? Do you remember him when we read about him and listened to him having a conversation? Yes, that's right. Marco wants to go back to school, right? He wants to go back to school and become a nurse. He likes his job as an orderly, but it doesn't pay enough. So he wants to go back to school and become a nurse, because he needs to make more money. And that's a good thing when you're motivated to go back to school, so that you can learn more and get more skills to get a higher paying job. And that's what Marco wanted to do. Okay, all right. So we talked about Marco a little bit. Does he like his job? Yes, he does. He just doesn't like the pay. And let's see. Page 102. So before we read, answer the questions. So we're talking about these people in this picture right at the top right, okay? Who are these people? Who are these people right up here at the top? Who are these people? This orderly is Marco. Oops, I put it between him and the nurse. Hold on, let me erase that. There we go. There we go. Marco is the patient right there. Hold on, I got it on the back of her neck. Okay, let me see. There we go. Patient. And this woman is probably a nurse that Marco is talking to, right? So, question number 2. What are they doing? So, in this picture, it looks like Marco is taking the patient somewhere in a wheelchair, right? And he's turning around, looking back at the woman. And I think we can assume that that woman is probably a nurse, and she is telling Marco where he needs to take the patient, right? Because that's one of his jobs, is taking the patients around, bringing supplies and things. Okay, so he's taking the patient somewhere. All right, so that was exercise 1. Exercise 2, it says read. Read the recommendation email, listen, and read again. So it says read the recommendation email, listen, and read again. So I'm going to read it and then we're going to listen. Well, actually, we're going to listen first. All right, but before we listen, the tip box says look through the text quickly for specific information like names and dates, like Marco Alba 2016, if you were looking to see who this letter is about or the date that he worked, you could quickly scan it and find those things. Like if I said find Marco Alba, you wouldn't have to read every line of this email to find that. You could quickly scan for those words and find it. If I said find 2016, you could quickly scan for it and you can see it on the third line of this email on the left. Okay, so but let's go ahead and listen to the audio, and then we'll read it together and answer the questions.
Exercise 2, track 19.
Dear Mr. O'Hara, I am happy to write this recommendation for Marco Alba. Marco started working at Valley Hospital as an orderly in 2016. He takes patients from their rooms to the lab, delivers x-rays, and takes flowers and mail to patients. He also delivers linens and supplies. He is an excellent worker, and his co-workers like him very much. We are sorry to lose Marco. He wants to go to school and needs to work part-time, but we don't have a part-time job for him right now. I recommend Marco very highly. Please contact me for more information. Sincerely, Suzanne Briggs, Human Resources Assistant.
Okay. All right, so that's the audio. And I'm going to ask you, we're going to read it again. We're going to read it, actually. We listened, and now we're going to read. But before we do that, I had you scan quickly for his name and for the date. And I'm going to ask you to scan quickly for 2 more things. What's the name of the hospital where Marco works? Yep, it's on the second line, Valley Hospital. Now, you didn't have to read this whole email to find that information, right? That's when you quickly look at a paragraph or a letter and you can find information that you need, and you call that scanning, when you quickly look for something specific. Okay? All right. The next thing I want you to scan for is who wrote the letter? And you can scan quickly towards the end of that and find the name. And that is Suzanne Briggs. Very good. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we listened to the letter, and now we're going to read it ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to read it to you. Read along with me. Okay. All right. New message. Dear Mr. O'Hara, I am happy to write this recommendation for Marco Alba. Marco started working at Valley Hospital as an orderly in 2016. He takes patients from their rooms to the lab, delivers x-rays, and takes flowers and mail to patients. He also delivers linens and supplies. He is an excellent worker, and his co-workers like him very much. We are sorry to lose Marco. He wants to go to school and work and needs to work part-time, but we don't have a part-time job for him right now. I recommend Marco very highly. Please contact me for more information. Suzanne Briggs, Human Resources Assistant, Valley Hospital. Okay, all right, so that is the letter that we just listened to. Now we just read it. And I have the page up. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. Okay, so before we answer the questions, I want to make sure there were some vocabulary words in here that I thought we might need to go over, like recommendation. Let's see, can you see my board okay? Yeah. So this is a recommendation. This is a recommendation email. And what is a recommendation? So that's a new vocabulary word that you might want to write in your notebook so that you can go back and practice it. Let's see. Okay, so you can see that. Recommendation is how you spell it right here. Okay. And the way you pronounce this is rec o min day shun. What is that? 5 syllables? Recommendation. Yeah, 5 syllables. So recommendation. What is a recommendation? A recommendation is usually a letter or words from someone who speaks highly of you, from someone who can talk about your strong points, your strengths. So you would want to get a recommendation from someone who knows you well and who has a positive, who views you in a positive way. If there's someone who does not like you, you would not want to get a recommendation letter from them. Okay? All right, so that's recommendation. And then we talked about what scanning is, and that's to read through something quickly, looking for information. Text is a word that I think we came across in this lesson. Over in the tip box. If you look at the tip box, it says look through the text. And text is just words. Printed words. So that's why they call the books that children use in school or the books that you have in college. Even this would be our textbook. This is our textbook. This is the book that we work out of. And so textbook, text is, so the word text alone is just printed words. So when it says look at the text, the writing, that's what is in this book. So when we looked at the text, we were looking at the email. Okay, so recommendation, text, I hope you can see that. And it was one other word I thought you might not be familiar. Oh, specific. Specific. That's how you spell it, and this is how it sounds. Specific. Specifics. And specific, I hope you can see that. Let me get on the other side. Yeah, you can see it now with me over here. Specific. And specific is just when you, let's see, specific. It means, I'm trying to think of a word that you would already know. Specific is mean the particular. This one. Like if I were looking in a bowl of, at a basket of apples, and I pointed and I said, I want that one. That's being specific. If I just said, give me an apple, that's not specific. But if I pointed to an apple and I said, I want that one, then I'm being specific. So specifics means you identify the thing and you separate it from the others. I think that's the best ways for me to describe specific. I want an apple. I want that apple right there. Okay? All right. So I think that should do it. Okay. So those were the words: specific, recommendation, and text. So you might want to write those words and the sounds for those words in the back of your notebook that you keep. Remember the notebook that I asked you to keep? So when we go over new words, new vocabulary, you can write the word, what it means, and you can write it what they call phonetically, which is when you write it based on the sounds. Okay, specific, recommendation, and text. All right, so let's go back to 102. Sorry about that, I got my page mixed up. Before we answer the questions, let me just read the culture note for you, okay? You see the culture note right here? I'm going to put a dot on that. Okay, let me get my paintbrush back on. And I'm going to put a dot on the culture note. Yay, there it is. Okay, you see that purple dot on the culture note? Like I said, guys, I'm still learning these tools, really trying to make the classes a little bit more easy for you to see the pages and me not doing this all the time. I'd rather have the page on the screen so you can see the answers too. So, all right, culture note, which is right there where I put the purple dot. Teachers and employers are the people that you work for, often write recommendation letters or emails to help you get a job or get into school. So that's why I said you would only want to ask someone for a recommendation if you know that they like you and they think highly of you. You wouldn't want to ask somebody that does not like you. Okay? All right. So after you read, which we did, we read the recommendation email. Write the answers. Okay, it says write. Answer the questions about the email and write complete sentences. And we always want to answer our questions with a complete sentence. And a complete sentence is when you use part of the question in your answer. Because if it's a complete sentence, if I read your answer, I know what the question was. I can easily figure out what the question was. Okay? All right, so number 1. When did Marco start his job at Valley Hospital? Okay, they did this one for us. He started his job in 2016. All right, so that was 1. I just put a dot on number 1 because we finished it. Number 2, what does he do there? And the answer is Marco is an orderly. All right. And how do we know that? Because the recommendation letter says that. And I'm going to put a dot on that for you. On the second line towards the end. Let's see, my dot might be too big for this little letter here. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to be able to put the dot up there. So anyway. So number 2, what does Marco do there? Marco is an orderly. Yes. Number 3, why is Marco leaving? Is he leaving because he hates his job? No. Is he leaving because he hates his coworkers? No. He's leaving. Marco wants to go to school. All right? And there we go. I put a dot on that. It's kind of far down. There. Okay? Marco wants to go to school. And that is in our letter. It's down towards, it's in the last paragraph in the first line. where she says that he wants to go to school. Well, somewhere in there where I just put that dot. There we go. School. Okay. Number 4. Who wrote the email? Now that's an easy one, right? All you have to do, if you're looking at a letter or an email and you want to know who wrote it, look down towards the bottom of it. And there it is. Suzanne Briggs. So the answer for number 4 is Suzanne Briggs wrote the email. That's answering that question as a complete sentence. All right, number 5. Why did Suzanne write the email? Suzanne wrote the email to recommend Marco for a job. Okay, I kind of had to squeeze that in. All right, number 6. Which word in the email means to make a positive comment? To make a positive comment. Yes, recommendation means to make a positive comment. And I didn't have room on the line, as you can see, so I wrote it down at the bottom of the page, down here. I'll put a dot on it right there. And then number 7. Mr. O'Hara has a question about Marco. Who should he ask? Of course, he should ask the person who wrote the recommendation letter, right? Or someone in human resources. And in this case, it's the same person. Suzanne works in human resources and she wrote the letter of recommendation, so she would be the best person. So question number 7, the answer is he should contact Suzanne Briggs if he has any questions. All right, so that's it for part 3, page 102. I believe we covered everything there. Let me just make sure I covered everything. All right, so that's it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you in the next English class.